The ear in Chinese medicine is considered a microsystem of the whole body. And the way we learn which part of the ear corresponds to which organ is that there's a picture of an inverted baby. So when we put ear seeds or do acupuncture directly on the ear, it's like treating the baby directly. And it's connected to our vagus nerve. That's why touching the ear is very comforting and very erotic and very stimulating, all of the above, because the ear is a very direct organ that connects to the vagus nerve. So when we put an ear seed, which is a tiny sticker with a metal ball or a magnetic little seed or an actual natural seed, it's pressing on a reflex point that corresponds to a certain internal organ.
Welcome to the Wealth Podcast, Off With Your Coat, a podcast on women's health and wellness where we flip the script and ditch the surface level chatter. We need to ask the real questions. Let's get back to storytelling and back to basics to help us uncover how to set ourselves up for true health and wellness and pass it on. I'm Duff, founder of Gen Well, the women's health advocacy brand building wealth, the intersection of health and wellness. Some days it's me and a doctor, coat off, talking about what really matters. No fluff, no filters. Other days, it's East meets West, trading tools, not punches, to help move women's health forward. We're building generational wealth. Come with us. Coats off, let's go. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to the Off With Your Coat podcast. Today, we have a very exciting guest, Huiying Chin, who has a very special place in my heart. She actually was my acupuncturist through fertility journey, through 2 miscarriages. She is just such a wonderful women's health advocate and is working in the space in a very particular matter that she will talk through. So I'll pass it off to you to give a quick introduction on yourself.
Thank you, Kat. My name is Hui. I own Healer Hui Acupuncture in downtown Crossing, Boston. I've been practicing acupuncture for about 3 years. And on the side, I do a little bit of ancestral healing work with a circle of women in systemic and family constellation. And I've had a bunch of fertility and women's health issues growing up since puberty. And that was kind of how I found the medicine of acupuncture. And I'm very excited and honored to be here to be part of this podcast and chat with Kat and about everything in this session. Yes.
Thank you. And so you were were you in the financial realm before you went into acupuncture?
Yes, I used to work in insurance in Liberty Mutual where I was just pricing insurance, crunching numbers, and I wanted to do something more human-centric. And I went back to school and decided to become an acupuncturist.
I love it. So what we do on the pod is we ask you to take off your white coat, sort of look under the hood and give us your experience as a female in navigating women's health. And so is there one health challenge that or experience that you faced as a woman that was particularly something that you didn't expect or that surprised you?
Sure. I think like most women in the world, a lot of us have, and I personally had very irregular cycles since puberty. And I've done a lot of hormonal tests, thyroid tests, and the doctors couldn't pinpoint or investigate the root cause for my very irregular period. And when I talked to my mom, my aunts, women in my family, everyone just kind of pinned it down to, oh, you're just growing up. It hasn't stabilized. It probably runs in the family. We don't know what's wrong. You're still young. You're not trying to get pregnant. We're not worried about it. Here's some herbal remedies, maybe this syrup, maybe this supplement, maybe this thing will help you. And I will take some of that out of good faith, supporting the older women and trusting them. But it never got cured. And I would go on so many forums chatting with women anonymously about the issue of irregular cycle or very bad cramps. And the general sentiment was just like, oh, this is very common. Most women have it. We just don't worry about it. And I went to a doctor and they did all the tests and they said, everything looks normal. You can take this birth control pill. It's the progesterone pill. It will just induce your cycle and you start bleeding again. And I would ask them, do you actually know what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my ovaries, my uterus? That's why my body is not ovulating? And they were like, we're not sure, but just take this pill. And I took the pill once or twice and I was like, it doesn't feel like it's really fixing me. And thankfully, I met my mentor, who's an acupuncturist, and I was like, I'm scared of needles. Don't poke me. Just tell me what's wrong with me. And he chatted with me about my lifestyle. I was in college. I started working after college. I was basically working 50 hours a week, volunteering 10 hours a week, just very burnout, not knowing how to eat. I was trying to be vegan. Nothing wrong with veganism, but I just didn't know anything about nutrition. I was eating a lot of food that just wasn't good for the local climate, for my body type at the time, and my constitution. So I was just burnt out from not sleeping on time, not eating on time, and not honestly eating local or anything that was nourishing enough for my situation when I was very stressed out and very burnt out. So in short, it happens to a lot of us when we're under chronic stress that the body just thinks that it's not a good time to be fertile. It will just deprioritize ovulation, and a lot of women will just get very irregular cycles, and the body is coping. And after de-stressing, after removing the stressors in life, generally the cycle will come back. And that was what happened to me, even without acupuncture. And I went to him and finally got my first acupuncture session. So painless, so great. And I was like, I need to learn more about this, and decided to go back to school for it. Like half my classmates, everyone had irregular cycle. Every time someone says, I just got my period, we're like doing a period celebration dance. So it's a very cute community. And so that's kind of like my journey of finding my flow. And now my mission in life is to help everyone find their flow, literally and figuratively in life. So that's kind of a special place in my heart, helping everyone find their flow.
That's amazing. I love it. And it's so relatable.
Hmm.
We are, women are so high functioning. I always say, if you look at my computer, there's 75 tabs up, but that's literally
Yes.
just a visual of my brain.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
toggling between them all day. And I personally didn't realize until I moved out of Manhattan to Boston, where it's like
Hmm.
still a city, but it is a little a slightly slower pace, more spread out, I would say. I didn't realize like how much I was thriving on the chaos and where I was constantly living in that like fight or flight stage.
Hmm.
So when you recognized that and you were able to work with your mentor and start to get out, what other tools did you use in your
Hmm.
toolbox to sort of change that state of mind and body?
So outside of understanding that how important sleep and nutrition
Mhm,
was, I
mhm.
basically went deep into understanding nutrition, whole foods, what is healthy and what is seasonal for us. I learned a lot about sleep and how important sleep is. And then I delved into the world of meditation. I did a couple of Vipassana 10-day silent meditation retreat, found that to be very medicinal. Just having space to just be in nature, just be with your own thoughts and just be in silence without distractions of phones, books, or even humans, and just being in that headspace was really good to help me find clarity. And I think a lot of my struggle when I was in my early 20s and mid 20s is just we all want to do everything all at once. And I think someone has said this in a famous movie. It's just that you can have everything that you want as a woman, just not all at the same time. And I like the metaphor that everything is like a seed and we all have a garden. And if we're just planting the seeds, we have to tend to them and allow them to sprout. And it takes a lot of time, and it takes the right conditions, the right sunlight, the right water, the right season for every project, every flower, every intention in our heart to bloom. And sometimes it doesn't fully bloom. It's not its time yet. Sometimes it blooms and then it dies off. It's just its own timing. And I just love that metaphor that we're all gardeners and our body is the first garden that we needed to tend to. So for me, like understanding the seasonality and the cycles of all things in life, including relationships, family, health, just our projects and just our energy cycle, it's not just about syncing to our cycles. There's understanding that there are macro systems, political systems, there are environments, there are communities, there are business cycles, there are just general environmental systems that is out of our control, just like we're tiny humans living on a part of the hemisphere, on a planet, on an island, on a city that is trying to thrive in certain conditions. And this is also in Taoism and in the philosophy that governs Chinese medicine, is to understand that systematically what is out of harmony. Systematically, how do we go with the flow of what is in the macro system so that the micro system, that is my personal health, my individual intentions, my individual projects, can also thrive. And when you understand that everything has its systems and they're all systems that are working in its invisible forces, you're trying to understand it so that you can place yourself in the most advantageous positions. You can design routines that are way more effortless than fighting against the current to say, I just want to eat apple in the middle of winter when nothing is growing. And instead of understanding that, oh, there is a seasonality, as farmers, you need to store up food for the winter. And then winter is a time to rest, to allow things to hibernate so that it will grow stronger and it has the force of life when spring emerges. In the summer, it's time to be outside and enjoy nature and just be active and dancing around in celebration. But if we're not following the seasons of life, the seasons of our community, the seasons of our world, everything becomes way more challenging. And just like
Yeah.
animals, they know how to be in cycle and in the sync of nature. So I think that's, for me, one of the best medicine in understanding seasonality and being
Yeah.
patient with everything that has to happen in life.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, the patience.
Yes.
I think that's the yes, the hardest for us all. It sounds like you have this it's like the
Mhm.
internal systems in
Mhm.
Chinese medicine and acupuncture sort of fighting amongst the environmental
Mhm.
systems around us. And then almost I was thinking as you were saying that, it's like we also have very different systems at every life stage.
Mhm.
If we are in our 20s, if we
Yes.
are, you know, in conception years, if
Mhm.
we're perimenopause, menopause, would that be right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Just like different chapters of our lives. And I think women are way more in tune with the
Mhm.
seasons of life than generally men are. Not saying that they can't be, but in general, there is a beautiful understanding that is intuitive in our body. And I think everyone has that bodily intelligence. Like I said, the different chapters in life, there's a different pace that we move. If you look at how kids play at different stages of their development, it's also a beautiful metaphor to understand the different cycles of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, probably because we are so high strung and high
Mhm.
achievers and running around and running ourselves into the ground, we are fighting
Mhm.
internal and external systems and
Yes.
our seasons of life if we're meant to slow down for a bit, like,
Mhm.
for example, postpartum.
Mhm.
Um, so, what did you learn about your body specifically as you were
Mhm.
studying Chinese
Mhm.
medicine and acupuncture? And, when you were saying intuition,
Mhm.
huge reason why I started all of this
Mhm.
was because I don't know my intuition. I can't tap into it yet. And so I'm trying to have these wonderful conversations with people that are much more
Mhm.
educated than me and in various modalities. And so I'd
Mhm.
love to know how our listeners can try to tap into their intuition. Like, what have you learned that you can share with us?
Sure. I would say that it's also coming from meditation and the practice of mindfulness. It's
Mhm.
very interesting. The word mindful has the word full in it. It's actually about creating space. I think
Mm.
a lot of us can probably recall occasions where you first meet someone, like the first time you meet a woman or a new friend or a new man or a new opportunity, you just have this intuition like, oh, I don't feel so good. Or I feel great. I just genuinely really want to connect more and continue to explore this opportunity. I think there is always almost like a 5 second, 5 minute intuition in your body. And sometimes there are days that you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna go run a 5K. I just want to go run outside. I have so much energy. And some days you're just like, oh wow, everything just feels heavy. I have a natural desire to just rest more, eat more, or just have a slower day. And I think for me is actually creating space to allow for mistakes to happen, but also someone told me this, that real wealth or abundance is to actually have a space to breathe, the space to make mistakes. It's like tolerance. It's like, yeah, I actually have a leeway to say I'm going to delay my meeting or show up to my next obligation 15 minutes late. It's more of a buffer system. Oh, I have a buffer system so that my investment, my cash flow is not running always on dry, or like I'm always 5 minutes late to my next thing. How do we build buffer system? And I think having buffer allows us to also have a little bit more flexibility to say like, hey, maybe I really want to go get that coffee and take a little walk around the neighborhood because I just really feel like I need some fresh air. And just that fresh air allows me to get more clarity to prepare for my next meeting or get more clarity about what I want to eat today. And I
Mhm.
think it's around having that space to, can I plan my meals or my budget with a little bit more buffer? Can I give myself the space to say, oh, I don't have to respond to this invite immediately, even though my natural people pleasing tendency is like, I don't want to disappoint anyone. I want to go. But can
Yeah.
I give myself that buffer? Like, oh my God, this sounds so exciting. Let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. in a few
Mhm.
days, or like just say like I
Mhm.
really want to show up fully present, but there's a lot going on in my life. I want that buffer to really say yes from the deep, genuine part of my heart and my abdomen.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's just about, do we have that space to actually listen and have that space to say, oh, maybe this time it's a not yet, or I don't know yet. And I think the world demands so much out of women that we don't offer each other a lot of that buffer. And also giving ourselves that grace, like, oh, if someone says no to my invite, I'm just giving them the same buffer. And it's okay. It's not never, it's just not
Mhm.
now. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
invite them again and there will be another opportunity to connect, another time for the seed to bloom. But it's just, for me, it's just about that space and then
Yeah.
trusting what is coming up.
I love that. Like those the boundary setting,
Hmm.
but for yourself as well, I think is so important. It's something I struggle with in my day of just trying to, it's like almost hurry up and wait. Just
Hmm.
like push forward to the next thing and not giving myself even like 5 minutes to go, get my peepers in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Take a moment. But I love that idea of just when you were saying mindfulness
Hmm.
and like having it actually mean space, like that
Hmm.
really resonated with me. I'm wondering if maybe we try that as like a to start like a weekly thing of we
Hmm.
take, 5 minutes every 2 hours or something like
Hmm.
that to create
Yeah.
that space. I love it.
Yeah. I love that too.
So I would love to just do a quick kind of
Hmm.
overview of acupuncture in general and specific to our friends that
Hmm.
were also needle shy. I'm glad that you brought that up, that you
Hmm.
were, maybe more
Hmm.
afraid of needles to start. Because in our experience, when we worked together, I thought that they were pretty painless, but
Hmm.
I think I have
Hmm.
a high threshold for pain. People say that. I have no actual idea.
Hmm. We can't
Well,
really measure that yet.
but they are pretty flexible needles and they're very
Hmm.
tiny. And so I'd love to hear just for
Yeah.
anyone that is unaware of acupuncture, what's like the quick and dirty on what it
Hmm.
is, any
Hmm.
risks that are involved, and how you can get over being needle shy.
Sure. So I think a lot of people tend to think of acupuncture as like you're going to be poked like a hedgehog and you're going to be full of needles. I think that's from some really old 70s ad where people were poked with a lot of needles. Generally, the needles are as thin as our hair, and we usually use a guiding tube, which makes the insertion a lot more gentle, and typically it's painless. Some people have a more sensitive reaction to it because it's that time of the month where they're about to get their period or they've been under chronic stress where their body is just so braced and tight that any little stimulation, even touching them or giving them a massage, will trigger a spasm and they just couldn't really receive the needles. So for those people, they will be a little bit more sensitive. We need some time to calm them down, have them breathe through the needles and slowly ease them into the treatment. But generally, acupuncture is a very gentle treatment. There is no real risk. If anything that could happen is that we might strike a tiny blood vessel under your skin, and there might be a tiny bleed of bleeding under the skin. It is called a hematoma, where you have a tiny, tiny bruise. Generally, this could happen near the abdomen where the skin is paler and you could see a tiny bruise. It typically doesn't create any pain. If there's any bruising or a tiny blood clot, it generally resolves within a day or two. This is very rare, but it is something that could happen. And a lot of people say, oh, are you trying to hit the nerve? Are you trying to hit a muscle? Are you trying to hit my bone when you insert the needle? It's not any of that. The acupressure points or the acupuncture points are energy points that is in the fascia tissue, which is the web that kind of bundles our muscle together. So it's working with the limb system. It's where neurotransmitters, our hormones flow through. And we're just trying to find the space between the muscle in the fascia layer. The fascia layer is kind of like a web of lymph nodes and things that kind of help us move together. That's why movement helps everything. We're just
Mhm.
trying to promote circulation and help our body reset our nervous system reaction from fight or flight to rest and
Mhm.
digest. And the body
Mhm.
is very good at fight or fighting. It's always trying to keep us alive and surviving. So it's always very good at go, 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 but it's not good at resetting and turning off all the alert signals and say, okay, it's okay to rest. You're safe now. Let's reset that button and push the calm button instead of the panic button so that your body knows like, oh, I'm actually safe. My mind thinks I'm running away from a tiger. There's no food. There's a famine. We can just tell it that every resource is there. You can come back to your body, really tell me what you need. And your body might tell you, I just really want a hot broth, a big meal right now, or I want to eat some fish, some steak, or someone would say, I just want to go and get some sunshine. Or someone would say, like, I just want to take a long ass nap and don't talk to me. So
Yeah.
the body will just try and talk to you constantly, sometimes with all the signals going on in the panic room. The regular biological needs button, like I need to just be soothed. I need my dopamine. I need my serotonin. I just need to feel comfortable and loved and supported. Those signals tend to be disregarded because it's not as important as keeping this human alive. So we're just trying to help the body with these needles to relax. And as the body relaxes, it will release its PTSD response of, I'm just going to brace and brace and brace because I don't want any of my internal organs to break. So if you have sprained something or you pull something, your body is still like, I'm just going to be super tight. I don't want to let this go because I don't want to pull something or like lose my ligaments here. And then
Yeah.
that tightness over time creates more pain. And that's how chronic pain is formed. And then chronic pain means chronic poor circulation. And generally, poor circulation leads to tumor and cancer. So those are the things that we don't want, which is stagnation.
Right.
So basically, acupuncture is helping you flow and promote your
Yeah.
circulation so you come back to your body doing its own thing. Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about stagnation? Because
Mm-hmm.
so I was talking to Dr. Basma Ferris a couple of
Mm-hmm.
episodes ago when we were talking about, uh, just in general
Mm-hmm.
inflammation. She said a lot of patients coming to her saying, I have inflammation. And then when she tries to drill down, it's not actually inflammation. Maybe they're bloated. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're talking about stagnation, what really is that? Is it
Mm-hmm.
stuck fascia? Is it
Mm-hmm.
blood not circulating? Like what actually is the stagnation?
Yep. So in Chinese medicine, there are two basic concepts. One is qi and one is blood. So qi is our breath. It's the energy from food. It's the energy from people around us. It's our general biological energy, our desire for life, our life force. And that energy is strongest when it is expressed. When our thoughts and emotions, energy, and our desires and ambition are fully manifested, we're moving, our qi is flowing. And generally, when qi flows, blood follows. Qi and blood are like mother and child, they always move together. When a lot of times we're frustrated in life, what we want to express is not fully expressed because life happens. We cannot be fully expressed as people, and sometimes things stunt our ambition. Constant disappointment, shame, stress just feels like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated with this world. I'm frustrated with work. Then you're not fully expressed. So it's like a balloon that is building up pressure. And when things are built up as pressure, people feel tightness in their chest. People sometimes feel bloatedness in their stomach. And sometimes people feel like, oh, I have a pit in my throat. I just can't speak my mind
Yeah.
because it's not allowed. And this is sometimes over time build up this stagnation. It's an energy that just couldn't be fully expressed. And some people say, like, if I go punch a pillow, if I go really scream in the woods, I'll be okay. And sometimes do find that more therapeutic because they're releasing that energy. And sometimes
Yeah.
people say, like an animal, if they're in shock, they will shake it off. Like a deer that's in headlights, it will shake it off after it moves away because that's how trauma is moved through the body. So
Mm,
movement generally moves the qi and promotes flow. But sometimes we're too busy to move. We're just stuck sitting in front of a computer doing our
right.
work. Then all of that energy is pent up in our generally chest area, breast area, shoulder area, neck area, even the lower back or the hips. So that over time becomes a slower circulation in these areas. When things are slowing down, the toxins build up and it could lead to inflammation. It could lead to muscle pain. It could lead to different kinds of pain. So that's kind of one form of stagnation. And then the other form of stagnation is coming from food. When
Mm.
we're hearing all these nutritional advice saying that you need this vitamin, you need this thing, you need this thing, a lot of,
Protein, all the
yes,
protein.
a lot of capitalistic idea around nutrition is adding. We're just going to add something because we just assume you're lacking something. But sometimes we're not lacking anything. We have a lot and the body is struggling to digest. Just like we're digesting all the information in the world, all the education about how to be a healthy, well person, there's a lot of information. And just like information, just like food, when we're eating too fast, when we're eating too early or like not in the right time, when the digestive system hasn't been warmed up, our enzymes couldn't work in the most optimal way. Food just sits there. If you imagine a plant that is being overwatered, the water is just kind of stuck there. It couldn't flow anywhere. It doesn't have the right drainage holes. It doesn't get enough sun. So everything is just kind of sitting there. The same thing could happen to our GI when food is ultra processed and it's very heavy, and we give each other just this 10 minutes to finish your lunch before your next meeting. Your body couldn't even chew the food properly, digest it properly. Just like a lot of ideas are thrown at you, your friends, your partner's emotions are thrown at you. You don't have the space to digest because you're processing 1,000 information every day, doing your job, being a parent, being a woman, being a partner, being a sister. Then all of that just kind of builds up in our system. And then it also stagnates. It's as over worry. And it sometimes shows up in our dreams and affecting the quality of our sleep. And sometimes it just lingers as an anxiety, like, oh, I didn't process that yet. I didn't answer to this person. It just becomes this lingering thing. So over time, emotions could also stagnate. And then that builds up to that chest tightness, that thing that just doesn't flow unless it's fully expressed. And you just kind of feel like, I just need to speak my mind and get it off of my chest. It's literally in our chest. So those are the two ways that stagnation could happen. Yeah.
Wow. I love looking at it through the lens of relationships and everything that's going on, where it's not your physical,
Yes.
but it is, I guess, the physical embodiment of your emotions and relationships and all of that. And also we are constantly having like the endless scroll of to-do lists, like the mental load for women specifically, because we are sort of the caregivers for our friends, family, etc. That I'm sure manifests as stagnation as well. At least I feel like for me personally that would.
Yes.
So, I think when people hear this information or they've heard acupuncture in the past, I feel like there's always a correlation with chronic pain or just like, oh, I'll go. Or even you've worked with my husband, Ryan, before. It's like, he's like, oh, I have my elbow hurts. I have some nerve damage, or, I think I need to go to acupuncture, versus I firmly believe, and I want to start doing this as well, that acupuncture should be a part of your preventative wellness toolkit. And so for women, is there a certain time of the month that it's most beneficial? Let's just say, generally, as we're trying to understand our nuanced health, is there something that you can say to women to say, oh, it's really good to start like at the beginning of the cycle, or any sort of direction there?
It's a great question. I think every patient is different. Generally, I would say if I were in my ovulating season of my life and I'm still having a period, and if my period is coming very late and I feel like I'm having a very rough few weeks where I feel burnout, tired, frustrated, and I just feel like nothing is flowing, my flow is not coming, then I'll definitely go get a treatment, because it's kind of like a balloon that's just waiting to explode. And like acupuncture is trying to induce that flow and allow that to happen. That would be a good time to go. Or if you're feeling like I'm so depleted, I just literally have no energy or motivation to do anything. I feel like I'm running on empty. After taking a long nap and eating the most nutritious, easy to digest meal, the richest broth you've gotten, and you're still feeling like I'm still running on empty, go get a treatment, move some energy. Maybe that will give you a little boost. Or if you're having like the worst cramps of your life, you're like, oh my God, I've taken all the Advil. It's still hurting like shit. And I just really want some relief. Come get a treatment. We'll tell you to put lots of heat pack, more warm broth, but generally some needles will also help reduce the pain. It's very good at relieving menstrual cramps. If you're not in any bleeding part of your life, I would still say follow your intuition, follow how your body's feeling. If you feel like, oh, my muscle feels super tense, everything just feels super wound up, I just want some relief. Of course, you can go get a massage, but the massage relief is a little bit more short term because it hasn't really gotten into your wired PTSD fight or flight response. So it couldn't really go to that deep release. I would say try and get an acupuncture when you're feeling super wound up or super empty. So those are the times that I would recommend a treatment. Yeah.
And are there complementary modalities that you've maybe done yourself, like red light therapy or lymphatic drainage, to sort of help aid with the drainage, but also the stagnation? Anything like that we can keep in mind?
Yeah, I would say a lot of different kinds of body work are very helpful. I personally like foot massages because I find that the feet is a very important organ of our bodies that we don't typically give it a lot of attention. The homework that I give all my patients is just to buy a foot soak bucket and soak their feet with very warm water, or just go get a foot massage where they'll pamper your feet because we're on our feet all the time. And it's the opposite end of our brain. As burnout as our brain is, that's how tired our feet are. So if you give attention to your feet, it's going to draw a lot of energy from your head and release all of that and kind of brings you into a better balance and grounding. So I love getting foot massages, and it's crazy how not talked about foot massages are, and it's actually very therapeutic, and I love having it in my toolkit. I try and go
And
this
just a
often.
regular foot massage or reflexology? What's like the specifics of what you like?
I I love any good reflexology massages.
Yeah.
They are a little bit more intense and painful
Yeah, they are a
when
little
you're very
painful.
stressed.
Yeah.
I would say you can ask for a more gentle pressure, but just generally any work to the feet really releases a lot for me personally. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend trying it. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great tip and a good thing for you to ask your partners, right? Like, I need a foot
Yes.
massage. This actually, like, my acupuncturist told me that I need to
Yes.
have a foot massage every night.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you for that
Mhm.
script. So, um, we ran into each other last week, and
Mhm.
as our listeners are now learning, I have PMDD and I started it 10 years ago. And I just got my period back in the last 3 months after having my daughter. And my PMDD is like fucking insane. And
Mhm.
so I found you literally
Mhm.
in the last 3 days of my 10 days of PMDD. And literally, so you did ear seeding. We could talk about ear
Yes.
seeding. But I will tell you, in the morning, the evening after you did ear seeding, I felt this sort of veil lifted of my
Mhm.
anxiety where I was a little bit more mild mannered and tempered with my reactions.
Mhm.
And then I had another question because my flow was really light.
Mhm.
So, can you talk about ear seeding and
Mhm.
kind of how that helps with PMDD or anxiety in general?
Sure. So the ear in Chinese medicine is considered a microsystem of the whole body. And the way we learn which part of the ear corresponds to which organ is that there's a picture of an inverted baby. So when we put ear seeds or do acupuncture directly on the ear, it's like treating the baby directly. And it's connected to our vagus nerve. That's why touching the ear is very comforting and very erotic and very stimulating, all of the above, because the ear is a very direct organ that connects to the vagus nerve. So when we put an ear seed, which is a tiny sticker with a metal ball or a magnetic little seed or an actual natural seed, it's pressing on a reflex point that corresponds to a certain internal organ. It's like trying to massage the body directly on the ear. And when it comes to anxiety or anything that could be related to our hormones or chronic stress, it's basically pushing the button that says reset nervous system, come back to neutral, ground the nervous system, come back from the panic room. So that's why a lot of times when patients cannot sleep, I'll tell them to massage their own ears. There is a story I love hearing. I found out about this story from another very old acupuncturist. In ancient China, women used to have their feet bound. They couldn't exercise because they believed that was a status of prestige, and women would just have their feet bound into a tortuous
Yeah.
position. And there was this grandmother that never exercised a day in her life because she couldn't. She was literally disabled because of this very horrendous practice. But in her family, the practice that everyone was taught to maintain wellness is to massage their own ears every day for 5-10 minutes. And she would do it every day until her ears are very red and very warm and very toasty. And she's been doing it until she's 96 without
Wow.
any exercise. So that was how she was
Wow.
able to support her own flow, her own circulation,
My
just through
gosh.
massaging her ears. So the ears is
Wow.
definitely a very soothing organ. You can give your partner an ear rub if they're very out of the world, a little tempered. You can help calm them down. And that's why dogs love their ears being massaged, and it's part of the vagus nerve. So that's how it works.
Wow.
When it comes to a lighter flow, I think every part of the flow is definitely infinitely interesting. We love asking about women's flow. Lighter flow, crampy flow, a clotty flow, it's all just a mirror, a picture of how you are. Generally, a lighter flow means that you're a little blood deficient. And to build up your blood, we just need to make sure you're eating your 3 meals, especially your breakfast. Maybe we just need to add a little bit more bone broth or like something that's easy to digest. Sometimes it doesn't mean that your nutrition is off. It just means that your body's probably not fully absorbing everything. And you also just came off of breastfeeding. And in Chinese medicine, we believe that when mother produces milk, it's actually transforming their own blood into the nutrients for the baby. So when women are going through postpartum recovery, they've literally given up a lot of their blood. So they're generally a little blood deficient. That's why for a while women wouldn't have their period or not be ready to be pregnant again until the body is fully recovered, and then it resumes its cycles. So generally those few cycles are going to be a little lighter because you're postpartum and you're probably not getting enough rest because you're taking care of your young babies. So rest and nutrition are the two things that builds up blood. And when you're using your eyes a lot, consuming information, the eye is connected to the organ that governs blood, which is the liver. When we use our eyes a lot, it also depletes the blood. So generally, I would say limit screen time, use audio listening if you can, just to kind of build that up. And another quick thing we check if you're blood deficient is, do you feel like your skin is a little dry? Do you see floaters in your eyes? Generally, it just means that those organs need a little bit more moisture. And that moisture typically comes from our blood. And it also is the depth of your sleep, whether you're having a lot of dreams, how's your memory doing? A lot of people don't have very good memory because their blood is a little deficient. It can't hold on to the information. It can't anchor. So those are the things that we diagnose blood deficiency. And generally, women tend to be more blood deficient than men because we bleed out every month and we're over worrying and consuming a lot of stuff in our system. So those are the things that I would recommend everyone to just pay attention to, because a good flow is 5 days, 3 to 5 days, kind of solid to your own norm that you remember. And that's just a target that we aspire to build you back up. Your body is very intelligent and optimizing all the resources. There's nothing wrong with you. We're just working on balancing everything. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting because as you know, we just launched GenWell. You were a huge part of that, so thank you. But I have had way too much screen time because I'm an elder millennial, and like the social media and like tech stuff is, doesn't come like super fast for me.
Yes.
So, and no doom scrolling. So I have to, no doom scrolling. It's been so warm here in Boston. I just told you we went to the beach. So I haven't whipped out my bone broth, but I actually had bone broth last night. We've been getting into that.
Lovely.
So I guess like diving into that aspect, you were saying before, like eating seasonally, bringing in, sort of the seasonality to what you're consuming. But I would love to know how you incorporate food and nutrition and like the chi into that aspect. Because that's so interesting to me.
Of course. So I would just say these are general guidelines for Chinese medicine and herbal medicine theory. It might not apply to every person, but I would say for an average human that is moderately active, the most important thing in Chinese medicine is that we want to make sure everyone starts their day with a warm breakfast, because your enzymes, your middle burner, starts your day and gives you energy from that solar plexus. And when we start our day with a very cold smoothie, it's great, it's nutritious, full of protein, full of antioxidants, but it dampens your fire because your body is like, I don't know how to digest this. This is literally frozen. Then your body is going to use up a lot of its energy to melt down the food before it can actually take in the nutrients. And your body is still powering up to start the day. So that is like a big depletion of your battery before it can actually power up the engine. So generally I tell people at least drink some warm water, let your smoothie melt down and become more body temperature before you consume it. It will help your body digest everything a little better. And generally, we recommend food that's like chicken soup noodle, oatmeal, porridge, super warm, super nourishing, super easy. And if you're like me, very lazy, very busy, no time to make breakfast, you can try a multi-grain powder from any Asian grocery store. The Koreans have refined this art for a quick breakfast. It's basically 5 to 10 roasted grains. They ground it up to a powder. You put a couple tablespoons at hot water. You have an instant oatmeal that's very nutritious, very nourishing, super easy. You can leave a whole box or a whole bag at work and just add some hot water or microwave it. So it's super easy. That's number one. The qi from the food that's warm will build up your qi. And breath is the number two most important thing. Always make sure you're breathing when you're eating. You're not
I just
shoving
took a
down
breath as you
food.
said that. I'm like, oh,
Just
I
take
realized
some
I was
breath.
holding it
Yeah.
in.
Most of us don't remember to breathe. And if you have good qi from good energy, from good plants, and like just being in nature for 5 minutes, you get some good qi. So your qi is built up from good food, especially good lunch and breakfast. Dinner is, you can do whatever, just nothing too heavy so it won't affect your sleep. But
Yeah.
generally, I'm not worried about most people not getting enough nutrition because everyone is educated enough to look for the protein, all the micronutrients. Just make sure you're eating breakfast. It's the number one thing that I've seen could use some correction and encouragement. And in terms of nutrition, I always tell women right after your cycle, you're a little more blood deficient than usual. If you're anemic, you might be even more lightheaded. So generally, I tell them to eat everything that's dark in color. Raisins, dates, red dates, anything, cranberries, strawberries, all the dark berries are more blood building. And bone broth, of course, is the easiest way to get a lot of collagen and protein. You can buy them in cartons and boxes if you don't have a pressure cooker to make it, or just go get a good bowl of pho in Vietnamese restaurants. They tend to make really good broth. So I think right after the cycle is a good time to build that blood up. But throughout the month, I would say you can listen to your body. And the healthy way of eating is that after you finish your meal, you should feel a little more energized and happy. If you feel like after my meal, I feel like I need to take a nap, or I feel like, oh, I don't feel too good, I feel a little nauseated, it means that the food is probably not what your body was craving or what it needed, and it's probably struggling to digest it. So then listen to your body and adjust the proportion of carbs or protein or just the way it was cooked. Sometimes your body just can't handle food that is not super cooked down and they needed to do a lot of work. So there's a big salad culture. I love salads. It's just that sometimes it is a little overworking the body to digest it in the winter time, especially. So it just depends on the season and see how your body reacts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kale for me, I can never digest. I feel like a lot of people are like that. But
Yeah.
Going back to the bone broth for a moment, I love it. I mean, seasonally,
Yes.
I think the temperature drops and I want it immediately, and I will have it just a cup of it in the morning because I always just crave having a warm beverage. I think it's just that comfort. Do you think, a lot of the conflicting advice right now is like, do not have caffeine or coffee or tea on an empty stomach? Does it matter, like, in terms of the energy shift because it is a warm beverage? If you're having, obviously, like, a hot version? What do you
So
think?
I think that soup and broth generally is the easiest to digest. It's often designed as food for people in recovery. And a lot of it is for people after surgery. So I think any food that is recommended post-recovery, post-surgery, it's generally super easy to digest. It's not as stimulating as caffeine or tea. So you can definitely have it on an empty stomach. And I think it's a good thing that your body naturally wants that when the temperature drops, and it's very normal. It helps people cope with the cold in Boston. So definitely
Yeah.
broth anytime, any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm loving, Kettle and Fire. They have,
Yes.
like, the small little boxes, and they have one that is, like, a curry flavor, and it is have you had it?
Not yet. I have
Oh
to
god,
go
it's
get it.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, you could definitely get it on Amazon, but I think
hmm
Whole Foods carries it. But having that just in the morning, or sometimes I'll just,
hmm
like, put some you can go to either Trader Joe's even has, like, the individual packs of lentils. You can, like, throw those in there, a
Yes.
little bit of garlic, some rice, like, it's so good.
Yes.
My naturopath actually had given me a tip of
hmm
before you get on a flight, so if you're taking an Uber to the airport or you're driving to the airport, like, make some bone broth ahead of the flight because it just sort of helps you get you going, ahead of your
hmm
travel, helps your GI, your gut health to sort of stay
Amazing.
at a tempered spot. Um, but yeah. So when we were vegan, what would you have that was warming in the morning?
So for people that are more plant-based, a lot of root vegetables have really good qi and blood building properties. So beets and carrots and radishes. They make such good broth with celery and anything that is with tomatoes. A lot of
Mhm.
tomato sauces and tomato-based broth is also very blood building. So I would have a lot of vegetable broth, make with lots of carrots and ginger and turmeric. And of course, we all love the curried spices. And there is actually a very common women's health herbs. It's called tang gui or the angelica root in Chinese medicine. That is a plant that is known as the women's health plant. And it's very blood building, very blood moving, and it's just very good for building blood. And it's very herby. So when you put it in the broth, you could just immediately tell, like, oh, this is a Chinese herbal soup. And for some people, it's a very soothing, comforting flavor. For other people, it's like, it's very herby. It's just a very strong root flavor. But you can find the powder and the actual root in most Asian grocery stores. And any herbalist or Chinese medicine practitioner is happy to prescribe you a very basic formula, and you can just make chicken bone broth with that packet of herbs, and it will boost its blood building properties. Yeah.
Great. Are there any contraindications to using that? Like if you're
Mm,
pregnant, any of that?
it's it depends on the stage of the pregnancy, but generally, if you're using the right part of the root, it's very gentle and it's more blood building than blood invigorating. So it depends on the other herbs, but definitely consult an herbalist before you take a bone broth with that. But generally, it's very gentle. Most of the dosage out there on the market is a gentle blood building formula, so it should be fine at any stage of a pregnancy. Yeah.
Great. So, on sort of the path to
Hmm.
pregnancy and fertility, that's how
Yes.
we got to meet
Hmm.
one another. I, have 2 babies, beautiful babies, but I did experience 2 miscarriages between the
Hmm.
2, and I find acupuncture so fascinating in the
Hmm.
whole phase of the journey. I mean,
Hmm.
from reading my pulse and my tongue
Hmm.
to feeling like when the needle goes in and you feel that rush of blood, or you know
Hmm.
that there's some stagnation there because you actually feel the blood pouring to that area. Like that to me is
Hmm.
it's so satisfying.
Yes.
But I'd love to hear from your perspective,
Hmm.
the women that are trying to get pregnant or in the future
Hmm.
that want to get pregnant or that have been struggling.
Hmm.
Um, how do you treat fertility in your practice? Like, what's sort
Hmm.
of like the soup to nuts of what you would do and support women through?
Yeah. I think a lot of time what I wish to advocate for is that a lot of times we forget that fertility it's a couple's homework. It's a couple's
Mhm.
problem. And I
Mhm.
think most of the time in my practice, we tend to see women do a majority of the work. And men typically don't get acupuncture. They don't get a lot of support for their own vitality and their own health.
Yeah.
And stress affects men as well as women. And I think I wish more couples, especially the men, would step up and give acupuncture a try and just give themselves that diagnosis to understand how their
Yeah.
body is doing under years of chronic stress and what they could do to just promote their own flow and help boost their own vitality and sperm health while the women are doing all that they can in regulating their cycle, preparing their uterine lining and all their hormonal numbers to prepare for IUI or IVF. I think because so much of the work is on the women's side, a lot of women's biological data is analyzed and crunched and collected in the clinics, and we get to see all those numbers and know what we can try and boost. If like, oh, it's thin lining, then it's like maybe we work on nutrition and their energy and help them recover from burnout. But a lot of times we don't get that full picture from the male fertility side. Like we can't tell the sperm health of a man if
Right.
I am not taking his pulse or understanding their sex life in detail. And there's still little bit of a taboo around men getting support for that. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend every couple or anyone who's planning to get pregnant to just talk to their partner and say, like, can we both
Mhm.
take active role in promoting both of our health while we're both preparing for parenthood? And there's more and more studies that says that the men's mitochondrial health actually determines the metabolic health of the future children.
Mhm.
So it's very, very fascinating that we're finally
Yeah.
holding men just as accountable for the fertility journey. But in general, for preparing women, it's the same idea. How can we help this woman perform and feel the best that she could feel? Generally, we ask about their appetite, their sleep, their energy. If they have any pain in their body, do they typically get headaches, lightheadedness, nausea? what's going on in their emotional health and try and clear any obstacles that is inducing the body to believe that it's not ready for pregnancy. And that's kind of like the overall picture of maintaining a woman's optimal health, which we do for everyone, regardless if they're trying to get a baby. And of course, like you said, it is Infant Loss Awareness Month, and we want to offer support to a lot of people and couples that have gone through that loss. On the side that I've learned about systemic constellation and ancestral healing is that every soul that is conceived is very conscious and it has its own soul contract to come to this world. And sometimes on that journey of overcoming different gates of manifesting as a full human being, of full being born and choosing the human life, a soul might change their contract and decided that they don't want to do that. But they are still part of your family tree and part of your family soul because once you're aware that you were pregnant, you have celebrated them being your children. And it has manifested as a proven testimony of the love that you had with your partner. So I truly believe that they are part of the family as a little soul that blipped and then didn't come through the portal. So I often would share the story and then invite people to understand that that was the soul contract that the soul has made with your partner and you, and that is the journey that they've chosen. And they still left a mark on everyone's heart in the family system. And we still remember them. And in many clinical studies and circles that I've been in, a lot of people have felt siblings that were before them that didn't come through the portals. And even though they're not the real oldest sibling, they would know that I had an older sibling. I just have this feeling I had an older sibling, even though I'm the firstborn in my family. And I think a lot of people have physically felt those presence, even though they've never met or understood that the miscarriages had happened in their family. And I think it's part of the work that we've been doing, talking about intergenerational trauma and like a lot of
Yeah.
family trauma and family systems shame and secrets that were not processed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing that I just wanted to mention and share that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, when we were working together and I had my first miscarriage, you shared that with me. And it is just so, I think, powerful to think about and kind of gives you a little bit of solace in those times because, as we know, women don't talk about miscarriage and it's something that you carry by yourself. And even my first miscarriage, my husband wasn't there. And so I physically was alone and holding that and holding it together. And it's interesting. I actually met with a medium
Mhm,
recently,
mhm,
and she said that she saw one soul. And I was like, oh, yes, I had a miscarriage. And she's like, no, this soul is waiting. So I was like, well, I have two babies. She's like, well, there's three that are in a soul contract. So
mhm.
I'm 38. I'm like, you know, I don't know that we want another baby, but if we chose not to have another baby, where does that soul go? Like, is that soul meant to come here? How do I mentally work through that?
I would say have peace in your mind
Mhm.
and allow what is happening in your garden to just naturally bloom. You're not owing the soul anything. And I believe that there are infinite souls and infinite layers of reality around us in the same physical reality that we are at. They're probably at different frequencies. And it could have been a soul that has gotten to know you in a different lifetime or different periods of your life. And it's probably lingering as an angel. There are many
No.
ways that a soul manifests. Could be a guardian angel, could be a
Mhm.
future baby, could be a future business partner, could be a brainchild, could be your next book, could be a soul of a project that you're very passionate for. I think there are many manifestation of a soul, and sometimes the mediums can detect different energy frequencies that it's in their line of practice, right? In their line of work. I wouldn't comment that that's the only judgment because sometimes there is a snippet or a picture that we see from an energy vibration. So I would say from an energetic vibration standpoint, I have heard of this story from a writer that has said that for a longest time, she keep having this full story in her head. She wanted to really put it to paper and birth the book, but she was in a bunch of life situations, so she didn't write the book. But a few years later, she saw the book that she was having in her whole mind, and it was written by another author.
Mm,
And she said that it was like a muse that found her, but because she couldn't
yeah.
manifest it, it found another person to bring it forward to this world.
Oh my gosh, I have
So
the chill.
yeah, so I do believe that every energetic vibration could just be vibrating because it's resonating with your frequency. It's like, oh,
Mhm,
I feel
mhm.
this loving energy of Kate, and I just really want to be next to her. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just the energy that you draw. And it doesn't mean that this is the only portal that they can come through. And there are many, many willing moms in the world, and depend on the times and the conditions and the vibration. So definitely don't feel any guilt that you have to now birth a third child. I think it's a lot of times it's coming from a place of blessing and good wishes. And I think generationally, we still celebrate women that are very blessed to have many children as a good fortune, but
Mhm,
it doesn't have to be a burden on you. And I believe that the soul is a very intelligent frequency and a very intelligent vibration. They will find their way to manifest in this reality if that's the path
mhm.
that they chose to come on. And a lot of things are just like potentials. It's just like infinite seeds that are waiting to bloom in different soil. So don't worry. Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you. I was like, maybe the third soul is Gen Well. Maybe that's what it is.
Yes, yes. And it's actually a portal that could generate way more seeds in your work. So
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Thank you
So
for sharing.
mhm.
Um, I have one other question about ear seeding before we move
Mhm.
on. Can
Sure.
that be so we used it
Mhm.
separate from a general acupuncture session. Is that
Mhm.
just a way to sustain in between sessions? Can you if you're
Yeah.
truly, needle shy, is that something you can do instead of general
Yes.
acupuncture?
I would say that I have had very few patients that are very needle shy, and the ear seats is definitely an alternative. It's, of course, not as fully effective and comprehensive as an actual session. And I think a lot of practitioners tend to give it as a take home treatment because it's a nice reminder to the patient that you should be in touch with your body. You can massage this whenever you're anxious. And it's more of a nice to have and as additional take home little treat, especially for some patients that are only coming once a month, to have that thing at home that they could add into their self care for a couple more days or a couple
Yeah.
weeks before their next
Mhm.
session. That's great. And in general, I don't tend to give it a lot in my practice because I do needle the ear fairly actively in every session. So the ear is pretty treated during my session. So I have not given the ear seats a lot. But for me, ear seats is kind of like a conversation starter, a very light appetizer for you to understand how
Yeah.
little we need to do just to invite our body for
Yeah.
more relaxation, for more centering and
Yeah.
grounding and healing to happen. Yeah.
Speaking of appetizers, what was that, central point you were talking about on the ear?
Sure. So on the ear, let me see if I can show my ear clearly. There's a little triangle here on the top
Mhm.
part of the ear. It looks like a little
Okay.
delta. And the tip
Yeah.
of the delta, where it
Yeah.
comes down to this little ridge, before
Huh?
you reach the ridge, that's the spirit gate. It's the tip of that triangle. It's called the spirit gate of the ear. And even if you just press on this whole area on the top half of your ear, this triangle, it also is directly next to the point that is for our uterus. So that whole triangle is a golden triangle. So you can massage that whole area for calming down your vagus nerve and boosting your uterus health.
What
Yeah.
about I thought you were gonna say it connects to the clitoris.
That's the, yes. It's not there, unfortunately. Yeah. The partner has to find it harder in the real place.
I mean, hopefully he's not reaching up there.
Yes. Yes.
Um, in terms of massaging the ear on a daily basis,
Mhm.
is there any
Mhm.
specific way to do it?
Generally, it's just pinching the whole ear until it feels warm. You're just promoting the circulation. Some people like to pull it, expand it up and down, and some people create an ear bubble by pressing the pressure all the way in and then releasing it, kind of popping your own ears just to promote some circulation and movement. And for a lot of people that tend to have a little bit of tinnitus or like feeling like their ear having some pressure, it's definitely a good thing to massage the whole area and then promote the circulation. And it will help relieve a lot of ENT stuff too.
Great. Any better time to do it? Morning, night?
I think it's a very balancing part of the body. So it really doesn't matter. If you're tired and you do it, it probably will boost you up. If you're very stressed out, it generally will calms you down. It's like one of those things as a dual adjuster. It just brings it back to good balance. So there's
Yeah.
no recommendation or contraindication. You could do it anytime. Yeah.
Cool. And would you pair that with, like, do you gua sha or do you use that in any of your practice?
I do it for my own personal beauty routine because it just feels good and it feels
Mhm.
like a little facial exercise.
Mhm.
And it's just like massaging the ears or massaging any part of the body or even body tapping. It's just promoting circulation. Just like you said, stagnation is energy not moving, right? So when
Yeah,
we clap
right.
our hands, we can feel the energy of the room change. When we tap on our body, you can feel energy move a little bit. So
Mhm.
generally, tapping, massaging, pulling is all part of moving energy. So the
Mhm.
gua sha is the same idea. Can I move the
Mhm.
energy on my facial muscle because we're just so used to the same expression? Just smile, you're
Right.
a woman. So it's
Right.
just about that's why people do facial yoga, right? And I'm too lazy
Mhm.
to do facial yoga. So I'm like, okay, I'll just gua sha my face or watch a comedy show so that all your facial muscles get to exercise a little. Yeah.
Right. I love gua sha, and that's another thing where some
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, it doesn't work at all," or they're trying to promote whatever facial
Mhm.
rejuvenation things, but I do find a difference, and to your point about
Mhm.
the ears earlier, like, I'll gua sha, and then I will also massage my face, and you do feel super warm after, but I do find, like, doing that lymphatic drainage, getting it
Mhm.
sort of going, my skin does feel plumper.
Yes.
So, I don't think it's a placebo. I'm totally into that, and I feel like the Chinese medicine behind it tells us otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. There are a lot of channels along the face that and then and near the eyes that actually is a mirror for our spine. So massaging and gua shaing around the eyebrow bone, for example, really clears the spine and helps promote better posture and relieve back pain.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's crazy. Basically, when we invest in more care for one part of the body, everything else benefits. So
Right.
definitely do the gua sha. It's great. And
Great.
yeah, there is also facial acupuncture. And a lot of facial acupuncture or beauty from the acupuncture perspective is to help the body comes into alignment. Sometimes for some people to understand and appreciate their own body in greater beauty is to align their body, mind, and spirit. When people comes into better alignment, you can observe that their face becomes more symmetrical. And a lot of people that are living a dual life because they're not happy at their relationships or their job, they tend to have a less symmetrical face because they can't express how they truly feel inside. And
Wow.
that affects the droopiness of their skin, the glow
Mhm.
on their face. That's
Mhm.
why helping people come into their body and living their ultimate truth and being truly in alignment with their own inner flow, the outer flow of the world, and the expression of their soul in this world generally helps them feel and become more beautiful. So that's kind of what we do. Of course, there's also microneedling where we support the circulation of a scar tissue and help it flow so that it can recover better and promote more collagen and healing in a specific area. We definitely do a lot of that clinically, and
Yeah.
it's all scientific and evidence based for sure. Yeah.
Would you so, obviously, as we're aging,
Hmm.
a lot of women like Botox
Hmm.
or, creams and such. I wouldn't say they have, like, a maximum impact or lasers. Is there
Hmm.
anything in acupuncture or sort of a mix of things that you would do to be an alternative to a Botox or something like that, where you already have wrinkles, maybe you're in
Hmm.
your mid-30s, late 30s, you just want something to feel rejuvenated. What
Hmm.
would you say, "Okay, try this tomorrow?"
So in generally we believe that beauty comes from the same two concepts, qi and blood. So there is qi, which is biomagnetic energy from our own hands. When we rub our hands together, we generate this really healing energy. That's why Reiki is so powerful. That's why touch is so powerful. I have a really good friend. She's in her 50s now. She doesn't look a day over 19. And I've asked her repeatedly her secret. And her secret is that she rubs her hands together for a good 2 minutes. And then she uses her hand and generate this magical energy on her face, hands, and then she would just gently rub over every part of her face in a very gentle, warming way, like you were doing your gua sha, just through her own energy. And it has managed to preserve her glow. And she's also living her truth and living a very happy, purposeful life. I met her through volunteering. So for me, she is a role model of very natural beauty. And I do believe that if you're giving your face, your own body, a lot of loving energy, a lot of fresh air, it generally will preserve its vitality and be happy because you're using it a lot. And the other ways that I would say that acupuncture could help is to help you find out what is out of alignment in your life. And when you can remove a lot of things that is out of alignment in your life, you reduce strain. Everything becomes more effortless. And a lot of times in Chinese medicine, we believe that the most youthful people are childlike. And people are childlike because they're not adults. They're just not trying to solve every problem. They're just here to play. And the more we can become like a child, the more we can preserve our youthfulness and vitality. So if you observe a baby just cries when they're sad. They ask for help when they're tired. They always ask for more love. They always ask for more attention. And a lot of qigong or qi mastery or martial arts is around how can I be as soft and as flexible as a baby,
Yeah.
so I can roll around, fight all my enemies, and still be super happy like a baby. So for me, like when I talk about beauty acupuncture is around how can I restore your flow, remove all the things in your life that makes you feel constrained, that makes you feel like you're challenged and like, oh, I'm just so tired. And the
Mhm.
less you can burn yourself out, the more you can preserve your life force for all the things that matter and enjoy. So that's kind of what I believe in acupuncture
Yeah.
beauty. Yeah.
I love acupuncture beauty. We need to test it out.
Yes. Yes.
And then I was thinking back to like that I'm blood deficient. I'm like, oh my God, we got to get on that now.
It's just a tiny indicator that you could use more blood and less screen
Yeah.
time. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you're anemic. It doesn't mean that you're super blood deficient. It's just one of those things that's inviting you to care more in that regard. So don't take it as a very bad sentence. You're fine. Yeah.
Okay. Um, could we talk about tongue mapping? Because
Yes,
I love it and I'm so interested. I
of
don't know that
course.
you'll be able to see my tongue through the screen, but
Yes,
can you just give our audience a little bit of
of
background
course.
on like tongue map what you're doing in acupuncture when you're reading the tongue, reading the pulse? How
Hmm.
does that inform what you're doing for acupuncture?
Of course. So generally, if we observe a tongue, do you want to use your
Yeah,
tongue as an
let's do it.
example?
Let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, perfect. So this is one example, and thank you. As we can see,
It's all
Kate's
right. I'll
tongue
keep
is
going.
beautiful. It's beautiful. And she has a healthy coating that's pale in color. And there's a little
Uh-huh.
light divot in the middle. And as we can see on the side of the tongue, there is some bite marks. And we can relax your tongue. So I'll explain what those are called.
Oh.
So then we read the coating and the general color of the tongue. And a healthy tongue is like fresh meat. It looks a little red, but not
Mhm.
super blood red. So the
Mhm.
redness represents the level of blood you have. And your tongue is slightly more pink than red, which means it's a little pale, it's a little blood deficient, just very mildly blood deficient, which
Mhm.
we've already
Mhm.
talked about.
Mhm.
And there's a little divot in the middle. So the middle part of the tongue is representing our middle burner, our middle digestive organs is in the middle of our body. And that generally just means that we want to work on your nutrition and making sure that you're eating breakfast. Or
Mhm.
you might have a history of some GI concerns that digestion is just not the best organ, and we just wanted it to give it a little bit more support. And the bite marks around the tongue, which 99% of people have. So it's
Okay.
like a balloon. If you imagine a balloon, when I blow up a balloon, it won't have any marks because the balloon is full of air, full of qi. When the balloon is losing air or losing energy for a more tired, exhausted person, the balloon is a little lumpy. It's like your
Uh,
balloon of the tongue is pushed up against your teeth.
yeah.
The balloon isn't strong enough to push away the teeth marks. So it
Mhm.
just means that you're a little bit of qi deficient, which means you're
I
a
have a
little tired
sad
and you just
tongue.
want to make sure you get more breath and more qi from
Okay.
food. So that's
Okay.
kind of one of the things we read. And the side
Okay.
of the tongue also represents our liver system.
Mhm.
The liver system governs our frustration, our ambition, and our emotions. So if the liver is a little tired, it tends to be a little paler on the side, which also means that it's liver blood deficient. And liver blood deficient tends to happen with people that have to use their eyes a lot for work. So we
Mhm.
just want to make sure that they're getting more rest for their eyes and eating some blood building food. So that's kind of the side of the tongue. And the tip of the tongue is more of our lung and our heart system. And some people have a very red tip of their tongue because their heart is obsessed about something. They're obsessively thinking about something, worrying about something.
Mm.
Then they tend to have heart fire. They're dreaming about something every night. They're having some anxiety about something. Then the tip of the tongue would be a little more inflamed, more red. And then the tip of the tongue might have a deeper divot if someone's recovering from long COVID. They might have some postnasal drip that doesn't go away. They might have some lingering phlegm that doesn't seem to go away, or a dry cough that doesn't seem to go away. And that would show up in the front part of the tongue. So those are the things we tend to look at in a tongue picture. And if you Google tongue reading in Chinese medicine, they will show you an actual picture of all the organs and all the sections that we're reading. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of what we look into. And
Yeah.
the same idea with reading the pulse, the both hands and each position of the pulse and the tip closest to our thumb versus the furthest point, they all represent different organ systems. And whether you're palpating on the surface or you're palpating really deeply, they correspond to a slightly different organ systems. And some practitioners feel the pulse just to get a general sense of the energy flow of the person. If a person is blood deficient, but they're very ambitious, they're still go, 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 you will feel a very strong pulse, but when you press down, it feels a little hollow. It's
Mhm.
basically just their energy flowing, but the blood is actually very thin. And sometimes you have a pulse that's just very slow. You're like, oh, this person even breathing. Maybe they're an athlete that have very slow respiratory count. And it could just be a very strong, sturdy pulse that's just very, very slow. They're just a very chill person. And
Mhm.
sometimes you feel a pulse that's super high strung, like a guitar string, and you know that, oh, this is a very stressed person. Their energy is just like a wound up guitar. They're a little
Mhm.
wound up. And then you'll
Mhm.
know if I put in certain points for treating stress, that pulse quality will change. And then there are also some people that are on blood thinners that changes the quality of the pulse a little bit. And then you'll be like, okay, is this because they're about to get their period? Maybe they have some internal bleeding situation going on there post recovery, and then their pulse is super weak, super deep, or a little
Mhm.
lower. So that's kind of the things that we look for when we're reading a pulse. Generally, it takes a lot of years of experience and touching many pulses to just immediately read like, "Oh, I know this person, what they need right now just from this pulse." So
Okay.
generally, I don't trust myself to get a lot of that intuitive information immediately through pulse reading because I'm still relatively new in my career.
Mhm.
Even though
Mhm.
I'm 3 years in, I still feel like I need 10 more years. But generally, I'll ask everyone, "How's your sleep? How's your energy? How's
Mhm.
your eyesight? Do you feel depleted? Do you feel
Mhm.
like you're at your best energy? How's your sleep quality?" And generally from those questions and their cycle, their diet, you can generally form a greater picture of how they are and where they are in terms of their chi and their blood. And then we can try and figure out which needs to be tonified or calmed down a little bit so that they can function optimally. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we do.
So our friend Dr. Yi Song
Mhm.
was feeling my pulse and she was like, "Oh, your pulse is slippery." So she basically told me that I was pregnant before I would be able to know via a test. And
Mhm.
so that to me is super interesting. Are you familiar with like the slipperiness or can you describe what that is?
Yeah, so I know what it is in the textbook, but I have not felt many pregnant people's pulses, so I can't know clinically from my own practice. But a slippery pulse in the textbook is described as you're feeling a pearl necklace under your fingers. When the blood flows or the pulse touches your hand, it feels like pearls are running under your hands. It's like a string of pearls that just flow through your fingers. And a lot of people tend to have slippery pulses if they have a lot of buildup. And the idea is that the buildup could be coming from that stagnation that we talked about, or we call phlegm. And the phlegm could be coming from food, or it could be coming for women's cases, a baby, because a baby is a new thing that is a buildup and a new formation in your body. So that could come up as a slipperiness. But for some sisters that have built up phlegm, a lot of discharge, a lot of fluids that cannot be fully metabolized in their system, they might also have a slightly slippery quality to their pulse. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, can the pulse or the tongue be a diagnostic tool for disease? Is that something that and like autoimmune, for example, like how would you diagnose that?
So generally, if someone has a lot of inflammation, their tongue would be very red, and they sometimes would have a very thick, greasy layer of coating.
Mhm, mhm.
Sometimes you see very gray, green, even yellowish tongue coating that tends to signify that something is very cold and very damp in their system. It could be an inflammation that never fully recovered, or it could be some coldness in their arthritis and some autoimmune stuff. So generally from a tongue coating, we can see that. And in terms of a pulse, I have not seen very severe cases of patients where I couldn't feel one layer of their pulse. In general, people that are coming for acupuncture are still relatively healthy. So I haven't felt a very clear reading in the tongue or the pulse that could say that this person is severely sick. But I have heard stories where practitioners would see a divot in their friend's tongue and said, maybe you should just get a closer biopsy of your GI system because I felt like something isn't right there. Or they're intuitively reading the pulse saying that it feels like something was built up in the GI system. And this colleague of his went and checked and found out that he had a cancer in his stomach that was just not identified. So he was able to get it
Wow.
diagnosed fairly early on. So definitely that's one of the ways we work with Western medicine is to definitely encourage people to get tested if we suspect something is wrong systematically in how their
Yeah.
GI system is working. Yeah.
I love that you are working together for that collaborative care because it's so important. And I mean, something like a tongue reading is so simple and easy to do. You just did it via
Mhm.
Zoom with me. So, you know, cancer is so prevalent with young people right now. Colon cancer, breast cancer awareness month. Touch your
Mhm.
toddies, gals. Um, you know, I think something like that, just having the village of people in your arsenal, your clinicians, like, it's so wonderful to have you and ye and my naturopath and my OB and my PCP all sort of together where I
Mhm.
know I have that relationship and can ask certain things, but it's all about the preventative care, and I think that is such, like, an easy tool to bring into your toolbox, right? Like, something so easy and practical that you can literally, like, have a Zoom with someone or a FaceTime and just be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can I have, like, a monthly check-in with you?"
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Mhm.
Um, and just one last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, in terms of, like, family constellations and the systemic constellation, um, work that you've done. I'd love to just dive into that a little bit more because we did talk to, our friends that are somatic
Mhm.
therapists, and again, I just love these melding of modalities. So I'd love to know the differences between that and somatic therapies and sort of how you incorporate that into your
Mhm.
practice.
So I think one of the greatest tools I've learned from learning systemic constellation and having a systemic view on everything in life, starting from Chinese medicine to understanding the macro systems of our world, our seasons, our cycles, the planet, the stars, to understanding that we're all beings of energy. And systemic constellation is a way to tap into energy systems that's beyond our conscious and physical scientific understanding of the world. And when I was doing a lot of ancestral healing work, there's a beautiful leaning back on our ancestors, like understanding that we're not alone. We have lineages of ancestors, women, men, all of them people behind us that have tried to live a happy life and they've lived and they've survived infinite challenges just to birth us for us to be here. And I think when we feel stuck or when we feel very challenged and obstructed in our ambition or an expression of our soul in this life, sometimes it's good to trust that you have a counsel, a soul counsel, could be your guardian angels, could be your ancestors, could be all the healed ancestors and tribal leaders that have lived on the land that we've lived on. And I I was talking to my teacher who taught me ancestral healing, and she was telling me that the first time she received acupuncture from me, we were in Cape Cod, and she could see a tribal indigenous leader behind me. And she's very psychic. And she was just saying that I felt them standing behind you, supporting your work. And I can also see your teachers, all the Chinese medicine herbalists and teachers behind you that you've learned from. And it's just this beautiful idea that we're all standing on the shoulders of giants, and their knowledge, their wisdom is infinitely available to us. And sometimes I would invite my patients to set intentions on how they want to feel in their healing journey. And I would tell them that I'm having all my soul counsel, my resources, my guides talk to your guides so that they could all channel their medicine through me, through my needles. And I'm just a vessel here to deliver the medicine that your soul has found and has called in. And a lot of time people say, of course, acupuncture is scientific, it's evidence-based, it's a lot of energy moving. But there's this other classmate that told me she's very Christian, and she has met a mentor of hers who's a Korean acupuncturist. She's very Christian, very devout, and she said that every time she needles, she feels like Jesus is working through her. And she is just doing that work. And since I've heard that story, I felt so inspired. And I thought, like, yeah, I'm here to deliver the medicine of the divine energy source that this person is called in, and their soul guides are creating this medicine for them. And it also helps take away the egotistical side of being a medical professional. Like, yes, I'm here to save lives. I can fix you. No, I cannot fix anyone. I'm merely a little piece of the whole picture that your body is seeking in terms of a holistic journey and an experience of your soul's full expression. And it's very powerful for me to understand ancestral healing and how we're all vessels of everyone's soul's fullest expression. And we're all in this garden, seeding different intentions and watching different seeds bloom. And they will all bloom in their own beautiful time. And I just found that very healing. And that's kind of how I try to integrate that as a somatic therapist that works with needles, works with ancestral wisdom and evidence based science, and try to express all of that so that a lot of my patients that are coming in from a very bad burnout period or trying to heal from their own trauma can understand that they have the power and they have the connection to call in their own guides and amplify the healing experience that they're receiving. And I truly believe that it's more than
Mhm.
the placebo effect. It is what we
Yeah.
call in, and
Mhm.
whatever we're ready to receive, it will come. The
Yeah.
medicine always comes. So yeah, it's.
And for the fertility piece too, for all of our
Mhm.
women that are trying again, like thinking about this month or that have experienced miscarriage and working through some grief and all of that, like you can call in
Mhm.
strength and happiness. And I think what we're just trying to do with this podcast in general is to get wonderful practitioners and clinicians like yourself in front of women to have that connection, like the personal connection with it, someone who is providing care to you is fucking awesome. Like finding someone that actually like you can be friends with and
Mhm.
ask the tough questions where you don't feel like you're being gaslit, where you're feeling heard, where you can be curious and feel like you're in a safe space and someone can help you learn about your body. Like,
Mhm.
that is so amazing, and if you're local in Boston, you have to, visit, and I'll let you give your information in a minute, but I have to
Mhm.
do a quick fire round for you because we do it
For
with every
sure.
guest. Okay, what is one wellness trend that you've seen on social media that you actually have leaned into?
I think that it's so funny that I found this on social media, but this whole no screen time before bedtime is something that I'm definitely trying to lean into. It's so
Mhm.
freaking hard, but I want it. I'm starting to do it and I'm
Okay.
loving it. Yeah.
Alright, maybe we can help each other and we could be buddies so that we can
Yes.
check in on
Yes.
one another because that's obviously why my eyes are depleted and I'm blood
Yes.
deficient, so
Yes.
okay, favorite for, personal care product?
It's my foot soak bucket. I think everyone needs a foot soak bucket and just love on our
What
feet.
do you use with it?
Just hot water and some Epsom salt. Just some hot water, Epsom salt, just a
Do you do it
bucket.
every night?
As often as I can get to it. It's always
Okay.
so healing when I do it, but I don't always do it every night. I try to do it at least once a week. But
Before or after you ask someone to rub your feet?
I would say before the foot rub. It
Okay.
softens
Okay.
everything, makes everything softer, and it's easier to rub after the soak.
Love it.
So, yes.
Last thing you Googled or asked ChatGPT?
I was trying to revive a tiny aloe that I overwatered. So
No.
there's stagnation. So I was trying to Google how to revive a little overwatered plant. That's what I was
Were you
Googling.
able to?
They said that if there's a piece that still have a root, it will come back. So we'll find out if there's any piece that is still lingering. But
Okay. All
if it
right. Stay
doesn't, it's
tuned.
fine. We'll send it back to Mother Earth.
All right. And lastly, podcast, book, or resource that you would recommend for women?
Jen Well, listen to
Yeah.
Kate. She
Thank
is the
you.
best. Yes.
Thank you. So tell the gals where they can find you, social media, your website, where they can book an appointment, all the good
Mhm.
stuff.
Sure. My name is Hui. I go by Hui. So look for Healer Hui Acupuncture in Boston. And my website is www.healerhui.com. It is covered by insurance. Most insurance has a coverage for acupuncture. It treats pain, stress, anything that stops you from your flow and living your best life. So definitely reach out to me. I can check your insurance benefits for you or help you find someone that's in network with your insurance. You should definitely use these benefits and help yourself strengthen and find your own flow.
Yeah, I love it. A huge takeaway from this conversation is that everyone should be doing acupuncture for preventative medicine, but also for all of our life stages, for your cycle, for your anxiety. Women need it. It is evidence-based. It can work in tandem with Western medicine. And go get going on your bone broth in the morning because it's needed. And check out that Kettle on Fire, I'm telling you.
Yes, it is so delicious. Highly recommend Kettle Fire.
Yes. You are amazing. Thank you so much. I adore you. And I look forward to having a part 2 because we have so much more to talk about.
Of course. Thank you, Kate. It's so much fun to be here.
Thank you so
I
much.
look forward to seeing you again soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.